The moment the alien ships emerged from the shadows, their weapons aimed directly at the U.S. Odyssey, it seemed as though all hope for humanity was lost. The aliens had crafted their perfect trap, believing that humanity's fleet would be easy prey. The Odyssey was outnumbered, and the surrounding alien ships towered over it in size and firepower. The first few shots shook the ship, but the crew remained calm, knowing that this was not the end. It was only the beginning. Captain Eleanor Drake stood at the command center, her eyes narrowed, her hand gripping the armrest of her chair. The screens in front of her flickered as alien ships locked on to their target. It was a dire situation, but Drake had been through worse. She wasn't about to let humanity go down so easily. "Captain, we've detected a massive fleet ahead," said Lieutenant Jace, the navigator. His voice was steady, but the tension was clear in his eyes. "They're closing in fast." "Understood," Captain Drake replied, her voice calm but full of authority. "Get us in position. We're not going down without a fight." She didn't need to say more. Her crew knew what was coming. They had trained for this. Humanity's Deathworlder fleet, a fleet made up of soldiers and warships designed to fight on the deadliest planets in the galaxy, was about to make its presence known. "Ready all weapons," Drake ordered. "Target their flagship first. We're taking down their leader." As the Odyssey swerved to the side, narrowly dodging a barrage of incoming fire, the massive alien ships loomed closer. Their weapons flashed, and the shields on the Odyssey hummed with the strain of absorbing the energy. For a moment, it seemed like the ship might be overwhelmed by the sheer size of the alien fleet. But that's when the humans revealed their secret weapon. Without warning, a fleet of human warships, each one far smaller but incredibly maneuverable, appeared from behind asteroids in a surprise ambush. The Deathworlder fleet, known for its ferocity and cunning, had arrived. The aliens weren't prepared. They had focused all their efforts on the Odyssey, not knowing that humanity had a surprise waiting for them. The smaller ships darted between the larger alien vessels, unleashing concentrated laser beams and EMP bursts that disabled key systems. The alien ships tried to retaliate, but their coordination was off. They were scattered, unsure of how to deal with this new threat. "Sir, the smaller ships are engaging the aliens on multiple fronts," Kara, the communications officer, reported from her station. "The enemy's defensive shields are starting to fail." Captain Drake's lips curled into a small smile. "That's it. Keep the pressure on. Make sure they don't have a moment to think." The Odyssey herself was not standing still. With a sudden jolt, the ship accelerated toward the alien flagship, firing off its heavy plasma cannons. The first shot missed, but the second hit dead center, tearing through the alien ship's outer hull and sending shockwaves through its structure. The alien flagship's shields flared briefly before giving way, and debris began to rain down from the damaged ship. The alien commander, aboard the flagship, watched in disbelief. "How are they doing this?" he muttered to himself. His once confident demeanor was now faltering. The aliens had underestimated humanity in every possible way. "We need to retreat," an alien officer suggested, panic creeping into his voice. "Their ships are everywhere. Our fleet is falling apart." "No," the commander snapped. "We will not retreat. We must finish this." But as the battle raged on, it was clear that the tide was turning. The Deathworlder fleet was proving to be too much for the alien invaders. The smaller, nimble human ships attacked with precision, hitting weak points in the alien vessels that the larger ships couldn't target. The Odyssey fired another round of plasma, and the alien flagship's central core began to crack, causing it to tremble from within. "Captain," Kara called out, her voice tense, "we've disabled their central command. Their fleet is falling apart." Captain Drake's gaze was fixed on the viewscreen. Alien ships were beginning to retreat, their once imposing formations collapsing into disarray. The Odyssey had taken down one of the alien command ships, and now their forces were breaking apart. It was exactly what humanity needed. a chance to strike back with everything they had. "Push forward," Captain Drake ordered. "Let's finish what we started. We don't leave anyone behind." The crew responded immediately. The Odyssey and the Deathworlder fleet moved in perfect coordination, cutting down the remaining alien ships one by one. The enemy's once powerful fleet was now a series of broken, burning hulks drifting through space. One last shot was fired by the Odyssey, hitting the alien flagship's main reactor. The explosion was enormous, sending shockwaves that rippled through the battlefield. The alien flagship was consumed by the blast, its once mighty structure crumbling to nothing. A cheer erupted from the crew of the Odyssey, and even those aboard the smaller ships of the Deathworlder fleet joined in the victory. But Captain Drake didn't celebrate. Not yet. She knew that while this battle had been won, the war was far from over. There were still more alien forces out there, and humanity couldn't afford to let its guard down. "We've sent them a message today," Captain Drake said, her voice cold but proud. "Let's make sure the galaxy hears it." As the Odyssey and the fleet of human warships surveyed the wreckage of the alien fleet, a chilling realization settled over the battlefield. The aliens had underestimated humanity's resolve. They had thought they could easily trap and destroy humans, but instead they had created a nightmare for themselves. Humanity's fight for survival was far from over, but today they had struck a blow that the entire galaxy would remember. The victory, however, was bittersweet. The cost of war was high, and Captain Drake knew that more battles lay ahead. But as the Odyssey and the fleet of humanity's fiercest warriors drifted into the depths of space, one thing was certain: humanity was no longer the prey. They had become the hunters. And no one would forget the day the aliens learned just how dangerous humans could be. The moment the alien fleet emerged from the depths of space, the situation grew dire. The U.S. Odyssey, humanity's flagship, was now facing an overwhelming number of enemy ships. Alien vessels of all sizes, their weapons primed and ready, closed in from every angle. The crew's hearts pounded as the enormity of the threat hit them. It seemed like the aliens had set a perfect trap, using the distress signal as bait. They had lured humanity into the heart of a cosmic ambush, certain that their superior numbers and technology would ensure victory. But the humans were not as unprepared as the aliens believed. Captain Eleanor Drake, standing tall at the helm, remained calm despite the chaos unfolding around her. She knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had survived worse. She quickly turned to her crew, ordering them to make evasive maneuvers. The ship swerved, narrowly avoiding a barrage of plasma fire that tore through the space where it had been moments ago. The Odyssey's shields flared under the assault, but they held strong, protected by years of advanced human engineering. "Report," Captain Drake barked, her voice steady. Lieutenant Jace, the navigator, looked at her with wide eyes, but managed to keep his composure. "We've detected a massive alien fleet, ma'am. They're coming in from all sides. We're outnumbered." "Then let's make them regret underestimating us," Drake replied, her voice cutting through the tension. She knew that the Odyssey was not alone. Humanity's secret weapon was about to make itself known. The Deathworlder fleet, humanity's elite military force composed of warships and soldiers hardened by surviving the most hostile planets in the galaxy, was already on the way. The alien fleet, growing ever closer, prepared to launch another wave of fire. But as they did, something unexpected happened. Without warning, a fleet of smaller, highly maneuverable ships appeared from behind a cluster of asteroids, coming at them from unexpected angles. The Deathworlder fleet had arrived, and they were not like anything the aliens had ever encountered before. The alien forces, accustomed to fighting against larger, slower fleets, were caught off guard. The smaller human warships zipped through the battlefield with incredible speed, striking at weak points in the alien ship's defenses with pinpoint accuracy. Their lasers burned through hulls, disabling enemy weapons and shields. The aliens scrambled, trying to reconfigure their tactics on the fly, but they couldn't keep up with the human fleet's fluid and aggressive style. "Keep them off balance," Captain Drake ordered, her gaze fixed on the battle unfolding on the view screen. The Odyssey took a sharp turn, diving toward the alien flagship. The crew held their breath as the ship's heavy plasma cannons fired, striking the flagship's outer armor with an ear-splitting impact. The alien flagship rocked, its massive shields flashing as they absorbed the blow, but they were no match for the Odyssey's superior firepower. The humans had anticipated this move. The alien commander aboard the flagship, watching from his command center, was growing desperate. "How are they doing this?" he muttered, bewildered by the sudden turn of events. "How are their ships so agile? We are far superior to them." The commander barked orders to his subordinates, but panic was beginning to seep into his voice. The aliens had spent years refining their technology, but they had completely misjudged the human spirit and their ability to fight back under pressure. "Sir, the humans are attacking in waves," an officer said nervously, pointing at the tactical display. "Their fleet is everywhere. We cannot pinpoint them. They are too fast." Back on the Odyssey, Captain Drake was a picture of focus. She knew that this was their moment. The battle was far from over, but the aliens' overconfidence had made them sloppy. The Deathworlder fleet's guerrilla tactics have forced the alien ships into disarray. One by one, their ships began to fall. The Odyssey took advantage of this chaos, launching coordinated strikes that sent shockwaves through the alien lines. With every strike, the aliens' morale began to crumble. The overwhelming numbers that had once seemed like their advantage were now their biggest liability. Humanity was swift, determined, and unified in their fight for survival. The aliens had underestimated their enemy, and now they were paying the price. The alien flagship, despite its size and strength, was not immune to the precision of humanity's attacks. A powerful shot from the Odyssey slammed into the flagship's central reactor. For a moment, everything seemed to pause. The reactor exploded with a burst of light so bright it lit up the entire battlefield. Alien ships near the flagship were caught in the blast, their systems failing as debris flew into space. "Direct hit," Kara, the communications officer, shouted in triumph. "We've disabled their command center." The alien fleet, now leaderless and disorganized, began to retreat, their once formidable ships turning tail and fleeing. But humanity wasn't about to let them escape so easily. The Odyssey and the Deathworlder fleet closed in, pursuing the retreating ships and continuing to fire with deadly accuracy. It wasn't just a victory, it was a statement. Humanity had faced down the alien threat, turned the tables on them, and was now pushing them back into the depths of space. "Keep pushing forward," Captain Drake said, her voice unwavering. "We're not stopping until they're all gone." As the final remnants of the alien fleet scattered into the void, the crew of the Odyssey could finally breathe a collective sigh of relief. The battle had been hard-fought, but humanity had won. The aliens had tried to make them prey, but instead, they had created their own downfall. The Odyssey and her crew had proven that humanity was not to be underestimated. But Drake knew that this victory was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and there were more enemies out there. Still, for today, humanity had proven its strength, and the alien invaders had learned the hard way that the price of messing with humanity was too high. The alien fleet had initially believed they held the upper hand. Their ships were massive and equipped with weapons capable of devastating entire planets. Their strategy was simple: lure humanity into a trap, crush them, and take control of the galaxy's most valuable resources. The Odyssey and its fleet were vastly outnumbered. From the moment the trap was sprung, the humans found themselves surrounded. The alien ships closed in from all directions, firing their deadly energy beams and plasma cannons. It was a well-executed plan, but the aliens had made one grave mistake. They underestimated humanity. Inside the Odyssey, Captain Eleanor Drake's heart pounded as the ship's massive hull rattled from the alien weapons fire, but she kept her voice steady. "Damage report." She called out to her crew, her focus unwavering. Lieutenant Jace, the navigator, quickly read the monitors in front of him, eyes scanning through the data. "We've taken some hits to the port side, Captain," he reported, his voice calm despite the chaos. "Shields are holding for now, but we can't keep this up for long unless we do something." "We don't have time to do nothing," Captain Drake responded, her mind already formulating the next move. She knew that the Odyssey alone couldn't win this battle. She needed more than just raw firepower. She needed strategy. "Activate evasive maneuvers," Drake ordered. "Get us behind that asteroid belt. I want to use it as cover while we regroup." The Odyssey swerved sharply, dodging another volley of alien laser fire. The crew held their breath as the ship dove toward a cluster of asteroids, using them to shield the ship from the alien onslaught. The sudden maneuver caught the aliens off guard, and for a few seconds, the human ship was hidden from view, giving the crew time to breathe and recover. But Captain Drake knew the time to strike was approaching. She needed to turn the tide. "Lieutenant, prepare the Deathworlder fleet for engagement," she said, her voice cool as ever. The Deathworlder fleet, a force composed of humanity's most elite warships, was humanity's trump card. These ships were smaller, faster, and far more maneuverable than anything the aliens had ever encountered. If they could get into position, they would be the key to winning this battle. "Ready, Captain," Lieutenant Jace replied, his fingers flying across the control panel. The Deathworlder fleet's ships, which had been waiting in the shadows, now activated their stealth modes and shot forward, emerging from behind the asteroids. Their advanced cloaking technology allowed them to approach without being detected by the alien sensors, and in seconds, the smaller human ships were swarming the larger alien vessels. The aliens were caught completely off guard by the sudden appearance of these agile warships. They had expected the humans to rely on brute force. But what they didn't realize was that humanity had a knack for making the most of every resource. The Deathworlder fleet darted through the battlefield, launching laser strikes at key targets, alien weapons systems, engines, and power cores. They moved so fast and unpredictably that the alien ships had difficulty locking onto them with their heavy artillery. With each strike, the alien fleet's cohesion began to break down. Captain Drake watched the chaos unfold on the tactical display. The aliens' once coordinated attack was now a disjointed mess of ships trying to defend themselves against the relentless human assault. The alien forces were more accustomed to fighting opponents who lacked the tactical brilliance of humanity. Now the aliens were the ones who were overwhelmed. "Keep the pressure on," Drake ordered. "Don't give them time to regroup. We can't let them escape." The smaller ships of the Deathworlder fleet expertly harassed the alien warships, disabling their engines and causing widespread panic. Alien ships tried to retaliate, firing back with everything they had, but their shots went wide as the human fleet's ships ducked and weaved between asteroids, staying one step ahead. Every time an alien ship tried to lock onto a target, it was already too late. On the Odyssey, the crew worked furiously to exploit the confusion. With the alien ships distracted, the Odyssey herself joined the fight. Her plasma cannons fired again, targeting a large alien dreadnought at the center of their formation. The shot hit the alien vessel square in its central reactor. For a moment, there was silence, and then a massive explosion ripped through the alien ship, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The alien dreadnought's shields collapsed, and debris was scattered into space. The alien commander aboard the flagship watched in disbelief. "This can't be happening," he muttered, gripping the control panel as the destruction of his fleet unfolded before him. His once confident demeanor had shifted to one of panic. The aliens had planned for this moment, but the humans had turned the tables with their speed, ingenuity, and relentless spirit. "Order all ships to retreat," the commander barked, but it was too late. The humans had already seized control of the battlefield. The remaining alien ships, now leaderless and disorganized, began to scatter, trying to escape the onslaught. But Captain Drake wasn't about to let them flee. "We're finishing this," she declared. "Push forward. Don't let them get away. The Odyssey and the Deathworlder fleet closed in on the retreating ships, cutting down any alien vessels that tried to escape. With every strike, the aliens' resolve faltered. The battle, which had seemed like a certain victory for the invaders, was now a devastating loss. The humans had turned the tide through sheer determination, proving that even when outnumbered and cornered, humanity could rise to the occasion. By the time the last of the alien ships were either destroyed or forced to retreat, the once proud alien fleet had been reduced to a scattered mess of wreckage. The Odyssey and its fleet were victorious, but Captain Drake knew this was only the beginning. The aliens had made one fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity, and now the galaxy would remember that mistake. The battlefield was still and silent for a moment, the vast emptiness of space eerily quiet after the chaos of the previous hours. The crew of the Odyssey was on edge, their bodies tense with the adrenaline of the fight that had just unfolded. Despite their victory, none of them were celebrating just yet. They had won a battle, but the war was far from over. Captain Drake stood at the bridge, her eyes fixed on the view screen where the remnants of the alien fleet were drifting helplessly into the void. The Odyssey had done its part, and humanity had proven its strength, but there was more to come. "Status report," Captain Drake commanded, her voice still steady despite the storm of emotions inside her. "We've lost some ships, Captain," Lieutenant Jace replied, his voice grim. "Several casualties, but the Deathworlder fleet held its ground. The alien fleet is in disarray, but there are still some scattered ships trying to retreat. Can we intercept them?" Drake asked, her focus sharp. "Yes, Captain. The Odyssey can still engage, but we'll need to act quickly," Jace answered, tapping on the console in front of him. The captain nodded, her mind calculating. The aliens had been forced into retreat, but this was their chance to wipe out the threat once and for all. Humanity could not afford to let these invaders regroup. The Deathworlder fleet was already regrouping and preparing for another strike, but the captain knew that the Odyssey needed to make sure that any remnants of the alien fleet were neutralized before they could escape. "Deploy the remaining fighters. I want the alien ships finished off," Drake ordered, her voice unwavering. The tactical officers quickly sent the orders throughout the fleet, and soon a wave of sleek, deadly human fighter ships was launched from the Odyssey and its allies. These small but nimble craft had been designed for one thing: taking down larger ships with precision and speed. They darted across the battlefield like wasps, their laser cannons lighting up the dark void of space as they fired relentlessly at the fleeing alien ships. The remaining alien vessels were scattered and uncoordinated, unable to defend themselves effectively. They fired blindly, but their shots missed as the human fighters swooped in and struck with deadly accuracy. One by one, alien ships exploded, their energy shields no match for the human firepower. The alien retreat had turned into a rout, and soon the last of their fleet was gone. "Victory is ours," Kara, the communications officer, said with a satisfied smile. "The last of the alien ships are either destroyed or in full retreat. They'll be limping back to their homeworlds, licking their wounds." Captain Drake allowed herself a small, quiet sigh of relief. She had known from the beginning that humanity was more than just a target in the galaxy. They were a force to be reckoned with. And today, they had proven it. But even as the celebration began to rise among the crew, Drake's mind was already thinking ahead. She knew that this victory didn't mean the end of their fight. The aliens would return, and there were other forces in the galaxy who might look to take advantage of humanity's newfound strength. Today's victory was significant, but the next battle was already on the horizon. Humanity's fight for survival had only just begun. Drake turned to her crew, who were starting to show signs of relief after their long battle. She had seen them at their most vulnerable, but she had also seen their resolve. They were human, and that made them stronger than any alien force. "Prepare for debrief," Drake said, her tone resolute. "This is only the beginning. We're not done yet." The crew nodded in agreement. They knew the fight for their future was far from over, and humanity's strength had just been tested in the most extreme way possible. But if there was one thing the aliens had learned today, it was that humanity would never go down without a fight. As the Odyssey turned toward the horizon of deep space, Captain Drake couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. The human spirit had been tested, and it had survived. The galaxy had learned what happens when you try to trap humanity. They fight back with everything they have. The alien fleets had underestimated them, and now they would have to reckon with the might of humanity. But this was just the beginning of a much larger story, one that would unfold across the stars. Humanity had shown its power, and the universe would never forget the day when the alien invaders learned what happens when you try to break the spirit of humanity. The Odyssey glided through the dark void of space, its engines humming softly as it moved forward. The silence that filled the ship's corridors was almost unsettling after the battle. The crew, however, were still on high alert, fully aware that this was only a temporary respite. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. The aliens had learned a hard lesson today, but humanity knew there would be more challenges ahead. The universe was vast, and the Odyssey had proven that humanity would not back down from any threat, no matter how formidable it might seem. Captain Drake stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the view screen. The remnants of the alien fleet were now just drifting debris in the distance, their ships scattered across the vast expanse. Her mind was racing. The enemy had underestimated humanity's resolve, but the fight was far from finished. The galaxy was teeming with threats, and the Odyssey and its crew would need to stay vigilant. "Captain, we've received a transmission from the Deathworlder fleet," Kara, the communications officer, called from her station. "They've confirmed that all enemy ships are either destroyed or disabled. We've won, for now." Drake turned slowly, her face still composed despite the weight of the situation. "Any sign of reinforcements?" she asked, though she already suspected the answer. "None yet, Captain," Kara replied, shaking her head. "But we've picked up some strange signals on the outer edges of the system. It's too faint to identify, but it doesn't look like normal traffic." Drake frowned. "Monitor those signals closely. They could be a prelude to something more serious. We can't afford to be complacent." The crew continued their post-battle analysis, going over every last detail of the engagement. While they had come out victorious, the cost had been high. Several ships had been lost, and many of their fighters had taken damage during the chaotic retreat. Still, their tactics had been flawless, and the Deathworlder fleet had played a crucial role in the counteroffensive. Without their swift, relentless strikes, the aliens would likely have overrun them. As the hours passed, the Odyssey slowly made its way toward the edge of the system, leaving the debris of the alien invasion behind. Drake couldn't help but think of the cost of victory, the lives lost, the ships destroyed. It was a harsh reminder of the galaxy's unforgiving nature. "Lieutenant Jace," Captain Drake said, turning to the navigator, "set course for the nearest human colony. We need to report back. Our forces need reinforcements, and we need to start preparing for whatever comes next." "Aye, Captain," Jace replied, his fingers flying across the controls. "Course plotted. We're heading to Sol system." Drake nodded, watching as the stars began to blur into streaks of light as the Odyssey jumped into faster-than-light travel. As the ship slipped into hyperspace, she couldn't help but feel a sense of quiet determination settle over her. Humanity had been tested in the most brutal way possible, and they had passed with flying colors. The Odyssey had shown the galaxy what humans were capable of when pushed to the brink. But Captain Drake knew that the fight was far from over. The alien fleet that had attacked them was only a small part of a much larger conflict. There were other races in the galaxy, some hostile, others neutral, and yet others who had no intention of allowing humanity to thrive. The day would come when the Odyssey would face another threat, perhaps an even greater one. But humanity had something that no alien species had: the will to fight, the courage to endure, and the intelligence to outthink any enemy. The crew of the Odyssey had proven their strength in the face of overwhelming odds, but they were just one ship in a much larger war. The fight for survival was not over, and the Odyssey was only one part of a much larger struggle. Humanity had won this battle, but they knew it wouldn't be the last. As the Odyssey sailed through hyperspace, Captain Drake stood tall, her gaze unwavering. She knew that every victory would bring them one step closer to securing humanity's place in the galaxy. The aliens may have thought they could trap humanity, but in doing so, they had only made the humans more dangerous. The galaxy would learn that the price of underestimating humanity was far higher than any of them could imagine. The journey ahead would be difficult. The challenges would be many. But one thing was certain: humanity had a future among the stars, and no one, no alien, no empire, could take that from them. The Odyssey would be ready, and the crew would fight, not just for survival, but for the future of humanity itself. The final words of Captain Drake echoed in the quiet of the bridge, a promise to her crew and to the galaxy at large. We've just begun. The Odyssey continued its voyage through hyperspace, its sleek hull cutting through the fabric of the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds. In the silence of the ship, the crew worked diligently, reviewing data from the battle, checking systems, and preparing for their arrival at the Sol system. Despite the victory, there was a heavy weight in the air. Humanity had fought well, but they all knew that the galaxy had taken notice of their strength, and that meant more challenges lay ahead. Captain Drake stood on the bridge, her mind never fully at ease. She was still thinking about the alien fleet, still processing the way they had underestimated humanity. The fight was over for now, but that didn't mean the war was won. The galaxy was vast, and humanity had just made its mark in the most profound way possible. What would the next battle bring? The thought of it stirred a deep sense of resolve within her. Humanity had survived this one, but survival alone wasn't enough. It was about winning the future, about proving that they could thrive in the stars, not just endure. "Captain," Kara called out from her station, pulling Drake from her thoughts. "We've received another message. It's from the United Earth Command. They've been monitoring our engagement, and they want an immediate debrief." "Put it through," Captain Drake replied, her tone calm but firm. The communication screen flickered to life, and a stern-looking officer appeared, his uniform marked with the insignia of Earth Command. He nodded respectfully at Drake. "Captain Drake," he began, his voice steady. "First, I want to extend congratulations to you and your crew for your exceptional performance. You've proven humanity's strength in the face of adversity. However, this victory raises some important questions we need to discuss." Drake crossed her arms, her posture unwavering as she listened. "Go ahead, Commander," she said. "While the defeat of the alien fleet is significant, we're receiving reports of other alien factions taking an interest in the events unfolding around us. Your battle may have just made humanity a target for more than just this species," the commander explained. "We'll need to prepare for further escalation. Our forces are already on high alert, and the UEC is moving to strengthen defenses across the solar system. But there's something else." Captain Drake's expression hardened. She could already sense where this conversation was heading. "The Odyssey is being assigned to a new mission. We need you to investigate a new intelligence report. There are whispers of a coalition of alien races, all with a vested interest in stopping humanity from gaining a foothold in the galaxy. Your victory has made waves, and now we have to ensure that we're not walking into another trap. This time, something far larger." Drake felt a cold shiver run down her spine. This was no longer about one isolated alien species. Humanity had made its presence known to the galaxy, and now there were factions aligning against them, all of them eager to destroy or subjugate the human race before it could grow too powerful. "I understand, Commander," she replied, her voice unwavering. "We're already on our way to Sol. We'll be ready." The commander nodded once more, his face hardening. "Good. You'll have support, but expect heavy resistance. We've begun preparations for your new mission." "Stay sharp," "Captain, this isn't over. It's only just begun." With a final salute, the screen cut off, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. The crew looked to Captain Drake, waiting for her next orders. Her gaze lingered on the screen for a moment, her mind whirling with the implications of what she had just heard. "We're in the thick of it now," Drake murmured to herself. "There's no turning back." She turned to the crew, her face hardening with resolve. "All right, everyone, you've heard the news. We've proven ourselves, but now we need to prove we can survive what's coming. Prepare the ship for new orders. I want all systems checked, and I want all crew members ready for action. We'll be heading into the heart of the storm." The crew began moving swiftly, each person knowing their role. Despite the gravity of the situation, there was no fear in their actions. They had faced the impossible and come out victorious. They were ready for whatever came next. Captain Drake took her seat at the helm, staring out into the abyss of space as the stars swirled past them. The Odyssey was heading back to the heart of humanity, to Earth. But the road ahead was uncertain. They had won this battle. But now, they would face an entirely new challenge. A coalition of alien forces, united against humanity, loomed on the horizon. Drake clenched her fists, a surge of determination flooding through her veins. She had no illusions about the difficulties ahead. The odds might be against them, but humanity had already proven that they could overcome anything, and she would make sure they would continue to do so. "Let's go," she muttered under her breath, her voice steady. "We're not just fighting to survive anymore. We're fighting for our future." As the Odyssey continued its journey toward Earth, the dark depths of space seemed to press in on them from all sides. The victory they had won seemed distant now, overshadowed by the weight of what was to come. But Captain Drake knew one thing for sure: humanity would not go down quietly. They would fight for their place in the galaxy, and they would fight together. And in that fight, they would not just survive, they would thrive. The journey ahead was uncertain, but humanity's resolve was stronger than ever. The Odyssey was ready for whatever came next. The story of humanity in the stars had only just begun, and Captain Eleanor Drake would be at the forefront, leading them into whatever came next.